Hey guys, today I am bringing you a detailed guide featuring, in my opinion, the most broken build in Destiny 2, Bonk Titan. I have been using this build to carry teammates in raids, dungeons and master content, as well as speedrun lost sectors and farm up to 15 exotics an hour. Bungie has unlocked all the mods for everyone, meaning now it's your best chance to give this build a try, and trust me, you won't regret it. I'm going to cover the damage side of the build, as well as the resistances and heals, followed by the aspects, fragments and mods, and the keybinds for mouse and keyboard as well as controller. Finally, at the end, I'll show you the most efficient way to play this build, that way you can enjoy it to the fullest. Let's get straight into it. Good old Bonk Titan. Let's start from the core of this build and what makes it possible. Synthesis. This exotic provides you with a buff called Biotic Enhancement when you're surrounded by at least 3 enemies. This buff increases your melee damage by 200% and your super damage by 50%. Now, the coolest thing about this buff is that it lasts for 8 seconds, meaning that you don't need to be constantly surrounded in order to get the increase in damage. If there's a champion that's isolated, you can always walk up to a group of mobs and then quickly run towards the champion, as you will have 8 seconds to kill him. Syntheseps are not the only way that we are going to be increasing the damage of our hammer. We also have the aspect Roaring Flames, which increases the damage of our solar abilities each time we get a kill with one of them. Each stack gives a 20% damage increase, up to 60% at 3 stacks. However, this aspect will only provide you with a 10% damage increase per stack when paired up with Syntheseps, for a total 30% damage increase, which is more than enough. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, and in most case scenarios this will be an overkill, you can also grab Tractor Cannon, which will debuff the enemy, increasing the damage they take by 35%. I usually only bring Tractor Cannon when I'm under the recommended power level, like Grandmasters and such, or when there is a boss that you want to melt. So that's the damage side of the build, and now let's talk about how we are going to be surviving anything that's thrown at us. First of all, and most importantly, restoration. We are going to be activating this broken heal thanks to our aspect Sol Invictus, which creates sunspots whenever we defeat an enemy with a solar ability. Once you go through that sunspot, you will be granted a buff called Sol Invictus, which increases your ability regeneration, and another buff called Restoration that provides you with some of the best healing in the game. You can renew both of these buffs by simply walking back through the sunspot that you just created. The second way in which we are going to be applying restoration is with our healing grenade, which, if I'm honest, is not as needed in this build, but I like to run it just in case there happens to be no enemies to create sunspots, or when I suddenly need that burst of healing for me or my teammates. Aside from restoration, we are also going to taking advantage of one of my favorite mods in the game, that being Well of Life. This slow but steady heal will save you more times than you can count. Well of Life activates once we pick up a solar elemental well, and it lasts for 10 seconds. Or in our case 13 seconds, because we are going to be extending its duration with elemental time dilation. Our final heal with this build is going to be our throwing hammer. Whenever we pick up our hammer after it has hit an enemy, we will get Cure, which is a burst of healing. This will also save you countless of times. To top this off, we are also going to be using Striking Light, because its secondary perk gives us 25% damage reduction when we are sprinting, and trust me, you sprint a lot with this build. We also can't forget about tier 10 resilience for that 40% damage reduction. Now, before we get any deeper, I want to give a quick shout out to Apex Gaming PCs, which I have worked with to make my own personal PC line, which is now available for you guys to check out. You can customize the PCs as you please, and remember, you can also use my discount code TREY for up to $250 discount. Alright, let's get into the aspects, fragments and mods that you want to use with this build, and after that I'll explain how you want to play it. Stat-wise, we are going to be aiming for that 100 resilience because this is pretty much the basic of every single build. And then, honestly, that's all you need. If you want to invest some extra points, then I would recommend either Discipline to get our grenade faster, or simply Recovery just to be safe. Do not invest in Strength because we are going to be getting our hammer back thanks to our mod 1-2 finisher. Aspect-wise, we are starting with Roaring Flames, which is going to increase the damage we deal with our abilities. It stacks up to 3 times. Next up we have Sol Invictus, which is going to provide us with restoration, as well as increase our ability regen whenever we are standing on those sunspots. As for our fragments, we have Ember of Torches, which is going to make us radiant whenever we hit a target with our throwing hammer. Then we have Ember of Solace, which is going to increase the duration of radiant and restoration. Next up we have Ember of Wonder, which we are simply using for the 10 resilience that it provides. And then we have Ember of Searing, which we are also mainly using for the 10 recovery that it provides. So if you need any other stat, just feel free to change these two so they suit your needs. Mod-wise, we are going to be starting on our helmet and we are using Striking Light. The reason why we're using Striking Light is for the secondary perk, which gives us 25% damage reduction when we are sprinting. Make sure to pair this up with Hands On because this is going to be giving you a ton of super energy, and our super is a very good emergency button that we can press whenever we get low or whenever you want to burst something from far away. On our gauntlets we are simply using Elemental Time Dilation, and this is going to simply increase the duration of Roll of Life. On our chest piece we are using Melee Wellmaker, which is going to create that solar elemental well whenever you get a kill with your melee. On our boots, we are using Well of Life, and this is going to provide us with that nice constant healing whenever we pick up that solar elemental well. Now for the Titan mark, I am using Reactive Pulse. This is mainly for the secondary perk once again, because it gives us an overshield whenever we are finishing an enemy. So this is basically going to guarantee that you never die during a finisher. Now this is personal preference. If you want to put Font of Might in here, or if you want to put another copy of Wall of Life, then feel free to do that. However, one thing that you do need to have for this build is the 1-2 finisher, which is going to restore your full melee, so your full hammer back, whenever you finish an enemy. This is very useful for those times when you lose that hammer. So this is almost a must, because no one wants to wait 50 seconds for our hammer to come back. Now for the seasonal mod, you can use whatever you want. Solo Operative is very nice if you're playing solo. You can also use Monochromatic Maestro if you're going to be using a solar weapon. It's also a nice damage buff. And you can even use Weaken Clear if you plan on using grenade launchers and you don't want to use Tractor Cannon. Now I like to use Forbearance or an Add Clear weapon with this build, or even a grenade launcher with Blinding Nades. Another fun weapon I can recommend is Glaives, because they do work with Syntheseps and you can get some nasty damage with them. When it comes to keybinds, on PC you simply go into your settings, scroll down until you see charged and uncharged melee, and set 2 separate keybinds for them. For example, I have my charged melee on my side mouse button. For controller players, all you have to do is go into your controller settings, go into button layout and then set it to custom. Unbind your auto melee and then bind your charged melee first and then your uncharged melee second. This will guarantee that you always throw your hammer as long as you have it available. The way you want to play this build is by walking up to a group of at least 3 enemies, that way you get your Syntheseps activated. After that, you simply start hammering every single enemy that tries to stop you. This will get your Restoration and Radiant running, as well as spawn a solar well thanks to Melee Wellmaker, which will activate Well of Life. Each time you get a kill with your hammer, you will also be stacking Roaring Flames, which will further increase the damage you deal with it. Usually, you want to stack up Roaring Flames to ×3 before you go and attack a tougher enemy like a champion or boss, in order to maximize damage. In most cases, you won't even need it, but it's a good habit to get used to. If you are using Tractor Cannon, then simply remember to use it on any tougher enemies before throwing your hammer at them. And that's it for today's video. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed it, and remember to join up the Discord if you have any questions or if you want to participate in weekly raids with me. As always, thanks for watching and have a good day.